Finding Bliss. William James, in his world famous work entitled The Varieties of Religious Experience, talks about the fact that people of all faith traditions through all eternity have had these peak experiences, this epiphany, this enlightenment experience, and people of all faiths really hunger for that. And so in early 1960s, Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert and some other cohorts at Harvard University began experimenting with hallucinogenic drugs as a possible therapeutic drug. And it actually has been found to be very therapeutic for things like PTSD and physical pain. But that's not what they were experimenting with. They were looking for therapeutic effects, but what they found was this profound religious experiment. And they assisted a graduate student named Walter Pankey with an experiment called the Good Friday experiment. And they experimented with a number of post-grad theology students and gave them LSD, and they had religious experience, mind expansion, improved thinking, and these reality experiences of that which is not real. So that wasn't real popular in those days because the drug was not illegal, but you know, people were suspicious. So Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert got fired from Harvard because they had involved postgrad students in their work. So what they did was they moved into a mansion that had been made available to them by a very wealthy person, and they and 4 other cohorts locked themselves in the building for 3 weeks and took LSD every 4 hours. And Richard Alpert later said, no one, including us, would ever believe what went on in that house during those 3 weeks. But you know what? I would believe it, because I've had an experience that makes me willing to believe almost anything around this mind expansion thing. So shall I tell you a little story about myself? Yes, okay. So a few years ago, I was in relationship with a very interesting man. He was an eccentric man. He was proudly eccentric. He worked very hard at being eccentric. He was known around town by his haircut, actually. And he actually paid his barber to cut the hair in this particular way so that it would look like what he called his Einstein hair. And he had a pink silk polka dot scarf that he used to wear to kind of agitate his homophobic buddies. He was a plumber and an athlete and a bit of a man. And he usually wore this pink silk scarf over a red sweater, and he drove a hearse, and the hearse had a paint job, a flame job on it. And this man took me to my very first, on my 58th birthday, my very first rock concert. But he loved opera, he loved symphony, he loved theater. Actually, that's where we met. On stage, I was playing Fraulein Schneider, and he was Herr Schulz in Cabaret. And so, not surprisingly, this man convinced me to try LSD one time. You won't tell anybody. So here's what happened. As this drug started to take effect, it was Symphony Splash Weekend in Victoria. And that's when the symphony rents a big barge and they all sit on the barge out in the harbor and play music. And the streets are all closed off and people mill around all down by the causeway in the inner harbor. So as this drug started to take effect, we were walking along Government Street there, and people were just throngs of people going by. And I became aware that I was not seeing these people, they're not seeing their bodies. I was seeing their pain. I was seeing their sadness. I was seeing their joy. I was seeing their fear. And that's quite an experience in itself. But then the music started. And it was a overture to a Wagnerian opera. I can't remember which one. But the music just came out and got me visibly. It was like a translucent cloud, almost like a waxen thing, but semi-translucent. And it came in this great, beautiful kind of Art Deco curve and came out and encircled me. And then I stood for half an hour on the lawn of the Empress Hotel, leaning against the back of a bench, and my eyes just leaking everywhere, and I didn't care. I just stood there. And I saw that music build itself into giant toffee-colored crystal blocks and erect a huge monument. And I had the feeling of home, just home. And there was a river of blue diamonds coming this way and a river of pink diamonds coming this way. It was just, I was on another plane. And people say you have visions of things that aren't real. They're real. They are really real. And like people who have had a near-death experience, and they come back and they say they're not afraid of death, and that's true for me. You know, I just know that there are other realities, and so I'm not afraid of whatever comes next. But like Richard Alpert, when he realized he had to stop taking drugs, that was not the way to, you couldn't stay high forever. What he did is he headed off to the headwaters of the mystic movement, off to India. He studied every philosophy, every meditation method, every form of yoga, decided upon karmic yoga as his life calling. Karmic yoga just means a life of service. By a series of accidents, he met his guru, who gave him the name Ram Dass, which means servant of God. So Ram Dass came back to the United States, and you've probably heard of him many times. He's written many books, the most famous being Be Here Now. He started something called the Hanuman Foundation, which is a prison ashram project to teach prisoners while they're still incarcerated some spiritual growth and meditation, and also the Dying Project with Stephen Levine, which was all about conscious dying. And he taught meditation. And he taught meditation through 5 decades, despite 2 life-threatening illnesses, 1 major stroke and 1 life-threatening infection, for 50 years until his death last year at the age of 88. Meditation. He taught meditation as an alternative way to mind expansion. And that's what I want to do. Because while I'm not going to take LSD again, partly because I don't like putting foreign things in my body, but partly because I know I would never have another experience quite like that. I want to hang on to that. But I also want to learn how to see the music without the drugs. And I've had some success with that. You know, when I go to a concert, I just close my eyes and watch the music. And I also want to learn more how to be with people's essence, with their emotions, rather than just with their bodies. And I think I've had some success through meditation. So Unity teaches, we teach mind expansion, not through the drugs, but through the meditation. And I know you've said, and I've said, and practically everybody has said, I can't meditate because my mind's way too busy. I just can't sit still that long. I know. But of course you can't, because the world out there wants us to think that meditation is to sit still for 10 minutes and all of a sudden you experience bliss. No, you can't do that. Just like you can't get up and run a marathon today. You can't. I saw this week somebody baked a cake in the shape of a car that was big enough for a kid to ride in. You can't do that. If you want to do those kind of things, you've got to practice and you've got to learn how. And it's the same with meditation. You need to practice it. You need to learn slowly how to do it. So most of us don't just sit and do a silent meditation. Most of us rely on guided meditations, at least to start. And some of them are beautiful. You know, they're visioning walks in the forest or down by the ocean side. But Ram Dass's meditations were a little different. Because rather than, the idea of a guided meditation is to focus your thought on one thought. You know, we're never clear our minds, never. But if we can focus our thought on one thought. So the guided meditations help you visualize these journeys. Ram Dass was a little different in that his journeys were internal journeys rather than out there in the natural world. And the other thing Ram Dass did was when he was doing a meditation, and his meditations would be hours long, he would sneak in little bits of teaching along the way. And I thought that's quite brilliant. Get people in a relaxed, receptive state of mind And then just put in a little something that's useful. So I've been studying and examining Ram Dass's methods and what he teaches. And what I would like to do this morning is, instead of talking another 15 minutes and then doing a 2-minute meditation, I'd like to spend the rest of this morning with a meditation in the method of Ram Dass. So, it might seem intimidating to some of you to think that you're going to sit still for the next 15 minutes. So take a minute to stretch and shake out. Make yourself comfortable, sitting or lying, wherever it is. And just watch how you're breathing. Watch how you're breathing. And as Thomas said earlier, if you're comfortable allowing your eyes to close, do that. Otherwise, just a soft gaze. And let's start by just relaxing our bodies, starting with our feet. So we're just going to focus for a moment, pay attention to our feet, and then with our intention, relax. So relax your toes, your heels, your ankles. In your mind's eye, see your ankles and allow them to relax. Breathing gently, visualize your calves, your shins, your knees, and relax. Relax your thighs. Relax your buttocks. Notice if they're clenched. Relax your hips, your pelvis, your lower abdomen. And breathing into your lower back, allow it to relax. Your internal organs in your abdomen. Relax your lungs. And focus for a moment on your upper back and allow it to relax. Starting with your fingers, your hands, your palms, your thumbs, your wrists. Relax. Your lower arms, your elbows. Relax them. Your upper arms. Relax. Your shoulders and your neck, where you carry all that tension. Just allow them to relax. Moving up your neck now, allow your jaw to relax. Perhaps move your jaw and your mouth just a little and then allow it to relax. Perhaps just stretch your neck a little and then allow it to relax. Your chin, your nose, your eyelids, your eyebrows, your forehead, and your scalp. Just relax. And now bringing your attention down now to the middle of your chest, your heart space. Know that this is your center. And in this center, all is still. All is silence. In concentric circles around your center are all the events of your life, your personality, your story, your circumstances. They're all moving and coming and going and changing. And in the center there is stillness. And further out in circles is all the busyness of the city. Friends, relatives, meetings, business. All moving and swirling. But in the center, there is stillness. Now I invite you to imagine in that heart center, in that silence, in that stillness, sitting on a lotus flower is a tiny being about the size of your thumb. And that being is vibrating with energy and light, shimmering, radiating, sitting cross-legged on a lotus in your center. Look at that being and recognize it as wisdom, guidance, love, power, infinite knowingness. And allow that being to begin to grow. And it grows to fill your chest. Its head fills your head. Its feet fill your feet. Its arms fill your arms. Until it fills your body and you become skin covering this infinite being. And this precious, wise being and you are one. And I invite you and this being to continue to grow now. To grow and expand so large that you fill the room. That you're sitting on the floor and your head touches the ceiling. And everything in this room is encompassed by you, this being that is you. And continue to grow till your head is at the roof of the being and you're seated in the foundation. And everything in this being is there in your belly. Can you continue to grow until your head is in the clouds? You are seated deep in the earth. And everything that is at the level of this community, of this city, the struggles, the joy, the turmoil, the peace, all of it is within you. And grow now even more. So the entire galaxy is within your belly. And growing so that the universe is within you. And with that universe, all the wisdom that ever was known and ever will be known. And you become aware that you are one. There is only one. Only one. And you are it. And now allow the edges of the one that you are with all to begin to dissolve. Dissolving into the everything nothing. And out of this everything nothing, you recreate the one, including it all the wisdom, all the power, all the love, all the strength, all the imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, life, all. So now begin to allow yourself once again to come down, down through the clouds, through the atmosphere. Find yourself again with your head at the ceiling and seated on the floor. And look down and see the being reclining in the chair or lying down. The being that you thought you were. And in your mind's eye, reach down and touch the forehead of that being as if to bless it. And allow yourself to come back down within that physical body, so that once again you are a skin-encased, shimmering, radiant, all-knowing light. And allow that tiny being to slowly move back down to its original size, seated on that lotus. And know that this is the truth of who you are, that this being is always within you, and you only need to remember to access it. This is who you are. May you be at peace always and in all ways.